Hey all, Bluegrass here. As I said on this forum post, I'm going to be doing a podcast, mostly so I get more comfortable with my voice um, and I get more confidence in myself and my reviewing because I am a very shy person actually. Um, so just so you know, I do have chronic exhaustion. I always sound tired and I yawn quite frequently, so if I am, understand that I'm not bored out of my mind, I can't stop yawning and I can't stop being tired, so it might sound a little, eh. And plus I'm doing this on a webcam, so I apologize in advance for the sound quality. um, I'm gonna look at some OCs because I thought that'd be a nice safe place to start. Safe in quotations. Oh gosh, if you're watching this, you're probably gonna laugh your butt off because I do not talk I do not articulate myself very well verbally. I'm much more, everyone around me knows that I like to write responses as opposed to talk about them because I can't make myself make sense, so I do apologize. So I'm going to be looking at some OCs and reviewing them. I'm going to review them as I would any other character in a professional novel, because I write professionally. I don't see having different scales for fan fiction versus real fiction. I put them all on the same scale, that's just the way I am. So I'm going to be looking at them as individuals, as if I was reading this novel and these were the only characters in that novel. You know, how would they hold up? Because I like to view characters independently as individuals because that's what they should be. So, I'm gonna start with Brownie Sunday, which is albedo equals 1's OC. He got plenty of information for me, so this makes it nice and easy. I'll put up a picture here for you. So, as we look at her visual design, we'll start there because visual designs are much easier to start with, and then I like to work away from the visuals, but I don't know, visuals are nice, first impressions and all that. I really love the neutral colors. Thank you for doing neutral colors. Everyone around my family knows that I am obsessed with like browns and earth tones, and like all my OCs do not have like crazy hair colors or anything. I'm just not that kind of person. So to me it's very appealing to have this nice subtle earth tone colors, and I like how the armor is not overblown. It's very subtle and pretty. And the sword is awesome, and it actually looks like it works. So I think the metal point sticking into her eye would be a problem, but who am I to judge artistic awesomeness? The cutie mark is, I think it's a skyline with a river, but I could be wrong. It might just be a map. I can talk. So yeah, that's her. She's really cool. I really like the visual design, as I said. I've seen a lot of OCs that are just, oh, they burn my eyes to look at. A lot of the middle schoolers will make these crazy colors. I'm just not a crazy colors person. Maybe I just outgrew the crazy color phase. If you like crazy colors, that's fine. I don't see any point in like beating up an OC because the colors are crazy. If they are crazy, though, it does detract from it a little bit. It depends on the kind of story you're doing too, because you know, if you're doing a spoof or farce kind of story, it's okay to have a crazy colored character. If you're making fun of crazy colored characters, I don't care. It's all, the visuals are not a very big part of what I look at, honestly. As a writer, I don't look at that. I do like visuals though. Some characters are just like, oh goodness, my eyes. So, moving on, rambling again. As I said, I get off target when I talk. I don't think linearly very well. So, let's look at backstory because that's important. She's an earth pony from an AU Equestria, which is good because her visual design would not fit with a canon Equestria. As I said, you kind of need to design your characters for the world you have. Because sometimes I get people who design characters that just don't fit in the tone of story they're writing. So if you're looking at like a professional novel, when I write my slice of life personal novel, I'm not gonna write crazy actiony characters with all these spiky hair and super tragic backstories and all that. That's just too dramatic for a slice of life. And I like how they're matching the story to the characters and that it's an AU story. And of course the character fits with a AU based on the Pathfinder role-playing game, which is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. So it's a more gritty kind of universe. And I think that's wonderful. I love it when authors do that. They connect the OCs to the universe they're in. Now, that being said, you always need to make sure that it's, I don't even know where I was going with that. Scratch that. Movie. This is unedited, can you tell? So, when she was still a child, her father betrayed his family, and she had been looking up to her father as a role model. Her father tried to sell her and I guess the other members of her family into slavery to make a profit for himself. That's a pretty bad guy. I'd say on a scale to like 0 to terrible, he's pretty terrible. So I can understand that she struggled with paranoia afterwards. Honestly, I think if you were gonna go something that dramatic, and it says Brownie was the only survivor of her family, that's pretty dang dramatic. I think that would have more traumatic effects than just making her not trust people, honestly. I think that would mess up her psychology in a way that'd be a lot deeper. I think she'd be a lot more dangerous character. She was very unstable. I don't think she'd have a lot of emotional stability. So to say that she doesn't trust anyone, honestly, I think you need to go further. Because something that traumatic at an early age is going to leave a lot bigger impact. And unless she had like constant therapy and all that, you're going to run into trouble. And assuming this is a Pathfinder universe, she's not going to have that kind of therapy and whatever. So I think if you're going to go that dramatic, you need to understand the effects. So here it says she had only education and been fighting practice, so she became an independent mercenary. So that's part of it. Still, it's not. So I'm looking at her personality here. It says she has a very direct personality. She tends to be honest and humble and tries to avoid attention. To keep her tragedy from impairing her, she suppresses all of her emotions. Only showing her feelings to someone she trusts, and she doesn't trust anyone. Okay. So to me, it sounds, to be honest, and humble. I almost say those traits don't fit with her backstory. As I said, it would leave a way bigger mark on her. I think it would end up causing her a lot more trauma. I think she'd almost be very reactive. It says she uses her average intelligence all the way rather than just making her thinking in a last minute. Hang on. Sorry about that, had to stop. Anywho, so as I said, it says here that uses her intelligence to possibility, uses her intelligence to think past the basics of a situation, which is great. As I said, excellent hearing and eyesight. Her paranoia always keeps her alert, so she frequently is the first person in a group to notice anything. She's very blunt, sometimes rude, but always makes her position clear. Has a strong maternal instinct, which may have to protect her associates. I think, as I said, the backstory has got to influence who they are now. Looking at this description, it almost sounds like it's disconnected from her backstory. It doesn't flow naturally to me. Of course she's gonna be paranoid after that happened, but I think seeing her family dying in front of her because her dad's a jerk, you know, being sold off into slavery because, oh my gosh, that would be a lot more traumatic. She would be a very mentally unstable individual. She would be, she wouldn't just be untrusting, she'd be, like, her paranoia would be her defining feature, I think. I think she would be very aggressive, and the paranoia would take form in that she doesn't just not trust people, she thinks everyone's out to get her. And that would be a more logical thing for me to see, would be, oh my gosh, you know, everyone she's meeting with is, everyone's trying to get her, everyone will just sell her off, you know. So it's not just she doesn't trust them, it would be a very dramatic, everyone's out to get me, I'm on my own because I'm the only one I can trust. And she wouldn't work in groups. Honestly, the first person in a group to notice anything, honestly, I think it would take a lot to get her to do a group if you're looking at the backstory tying into the character. Here it looks like she does groups, sort of. Sort of keeps to herself in the group, but she is a part of a group. She has a strong maternal instinct to protect her associates. I think that would be more suppressed, again, with the backstory. But, I mean, it could come out depending on the kind of people she interacts with and she spends her time with. In combat situations, she wears sturdy metal armor, a lot of sworn teeth, reading. I read this already, but you know me, I can't keep anything in my head. So as in terms of MLP virtue, she is honest and loyal and a bit generous, willing to donate her time and risk her life for others. Not especially kind, and just no sense of humor at all. Not very magical. That would be my characters. Some of them are not the magical type. I do like that she's not very magically inclined, because you see a lot of these super powered OCs that are super good at everything. I like that she's more rounded, and that she does have problems, and she does have obvious faults, and she works past them. Nobody would follow her unless they're somehow impressed by her bluntness or respect her experience. I like that. I can admire a character like that. You imagine seeing someone down the road like that. So yeah, I honestly think it's a great start you got there. I don't see any major problems with this OC. I really like her. The main thing I just don't, I'm kind of wishy-washy about is that the backstory doesn't quite connect to the personality. If you're gonna go to that extreme backstory, you need to have a more extreme outcome from that. She needs to be more psychologically traumatized. Because at any time that happens at an early age, you might think it's a small incident, but for children, if something major like that happens, it's not just you're gonna be a little untrustful, you're gonna be freaking paranoid, and you're gonna have a lot of issues. And I think if you're gonna do that, you need to brush up on the psychology side, because I'm not a psychologist, I am an animal scientist. But from the point of psychology, you need to look at that and see, what can I do with that? What do I need to improve on? That sort of thing. There's a lot of opportunities there, but honestly, you've got a great start. I love this OC. It's very, very well done. The name needs some help. I didn't even notice the name until now, but yeah, Brownie Sunday doesn't quite fit. Unless that's part of her cutie mark. I can't tell. I have bad eyes. I don't think that's her cutie mark. So, yeah, maybe a new name, figure out how the backstory ties into her personality a little better, and you're good to go. I like that one a lot. So let's go to J-Max OC. I've seen this guy around a lot, and he really loves his OC, which I think is great. Quizzical Greystone, I think is that her official name? Yeah, that's her official name. It's her official name now. Yep, quizzical Greystone. Oh, this is such a... I see this OC around a lot, and every time I see her, I'm just like, I want to pinch your little cheeks! Okay. I actually get on to what she has. Visual design. I love the neutral colors. Keep them coming, folks. Keep them coming. Love them, love them, love them. It's not crazy bright. Thank you. I love the green eyes. I'm always a fan of gray and green together. Oh, these pictures are precious. The glasses make it. I love glasses on characters. Her cutie mark is a little complicated. I think they said it was a Venn diagram with a question mark in the middle, a book, and a chalkboard. I'd slim that down a bit. It just seems a little chaotic. I mean, they do mention it in his first chapter of his book that it is a little unusual. I still think it's a bit distracting. I think you can simplify it a little more. There's plenty of people who are good with cutie marks and stuff I've seen simplify it down. I do enjoy it. Maybe just keep the Venn diagram and just put a chalkboard in the middle, but who am I to judge? If you want it complicated, you go for it. Maybe that's a plot point later on. He did say he had 9 sequels of this story, so I just read the first chapter. I can't make judgments on the cutie mark. I think it's great. She's wonderfully designed. I love the visual design. Now we go to her character, which I think is just amazing. Some people would say that she's very similar to Maud, in a way that she's very blunt. She says what's on her mind. She's also very monotone. And I love the description he has in the first chapter about her voice and how boring it is. It was beautiful. Celestia's reaction was just hilarious. And she's like, is this thing... Like, what was it? I can't remember. Let me find it. Drab. Drab in general. Everything about her was drab, and I just love that kind of description. Just spot on. You just imagine this person in the crowd, you know, at Walmart or something that just blends into everything, and people keep bumping into that because they just blend in so well. I love that. Visual idea is just wonderful. I love how her personality fits the visuals beautifully, and they're just like, she was boring. Everyone knew she was boring, you know? And I just love how she's smart, and I love the part where she's telling about her passions, and she says it with a perfect monotone. That was beautiful. She's just like, I love this. She likes math, she's really smart, she's talented, but I love how there's still that failing of social ineptitude, and I love how they compare it to Twilight looking into a mirror when she's looking at Quizzical, and she's like, wow, this is like a distorted carnival mirror version of me. And I can't get enough of this character. What else is there to say about her other than epic? I really enjoyed her. Really did. I'm gonna have to read her stories now because I'm hooked on this character. So that's that for the 2 OCs I got handed in, unless someone just yeah. If you guys want to send me some more OCs to review, I can. I said I'm not the best, okay? I don't think in a linear fashion at all. I just tell you what first impressions, guys. I'm sorry. So let's go to questions for Characterization Academy. I was going to make a lecture, but I have the attention span of a pea right now, so I'm just going to talk about it. This one question I had. Albedo equals 1 had a question. He's the one who had the brownie OC. Brownie OC makes me hungry. I'm bitter. Okay, so this one was a pretty good question. I thought it was a great starter question. So, how do you let the reader know about an aspect of a character's personality that does not come up in conversation? That's a really good one because How do you know an aspect of a character that doesn't come out in conversation? That's one of the challenges of writing, honestly. Because it's always a balance between exposition, showing, and telling. When we look at the thing about writing fan fiction is people can get really lazy with this. Like, they'll just flat out tell you, like, in chunks of exposition paragraphs. And I've been reading some professional fiction to get an idea for when I publish my novel. And oh my stars, is exposition rampant like the plague. And they'll tell you right up to your face, like, this is this character's, this aspect of the character, and it's like, oh no, you don't do that. Oh. So how do you do it in a way that doesn't drive people like me bonkers? I don't know if it drives anyone else bonkers, but it drives me crazy. So the thing is, you've got lots of tools in your toolbox. I think a lot of times young authors or inexperienced authors will think, I have to do it this way. They said to do it this way in school, so I gotta do it this way. And you don't. Like, you say aspects of a character that don't come up in conversation. Well, that's only one tool in your toolbox. Think of dialogue as like a wrench. Well, you've got a wrench, but you need to get the screw out. Wrench, screw. You might want to get a screwdriver for that. So, other tools you can use other than just dialogue. You've got things like thoughts. Thoughts are really important. I always use a ton of thoughts in my writing, mainly because I'm a very subjective author. When I write subjectively. So things like thoughts are always a big aspect of my stories. And because I write from each character's perspective, you can't get the thoughts of another, but you can get the character's thoughts on that other person. And that's what's critical. So, people underuse thoughts a lot in writing. Thoughts can be quick one-liners. They can be long paragraphs with thinking about something really hard. They can just be in between dialogue. Like, yeah, I love cookies. Like I love a backslap or something, you know. You know, just have snide comments. If you have a snide character, you can throw in some snarky thoughts in there, or if an aspect of a character, maybe they're liars, chronic liars, and you don't want to show that in conversation because the other character is oblivious to this lying, so you can have it in thoughts. You can be like, of course I did. Not really, or something like that. You don't have to put he thought, she thought, they thought. I hate that. Oh gosh. If it's in italics, I can tell it's a thought. We don't need the freaking she thought, he thought, she pondered, he pondered. No. Just flat out tell us in italics, and I will get it that it's a thought. Other tools in your toolbox you can use other than just thoughts is pointed narration. Again, this comes back to my subjective perspective, but I think it can apply to a little more objective perspective as well. Because when you're writing each section from a character's point of view. So you should describe from that character's point of view. And that's a major footfall I see in young authors. They never describe a scene from the character's perspective. You can show a character's natural slants from just the way you narrate it. What do they see first in a room? That tells you quite a lot about a character, aspect of a character. If there's someone who's very cynical, they're going to see all the flaws in the room right away. If there's someone who's very optimistic, maybe they'll see all the wonderful, cheerful paintings on the walls. If there's someone who's very paranoid, maybe you have them checking out each little dark corner of the room. You know, there's certain little touches. It's all these little things. It's not just using one tool all the time. You've got a tapestry to weave, guys. So you need to take all these tools and use them appropriately to get the end result you want. So you got narration, you've got dialogue, you've got thoughts. You've got the way you set scenes. Sometimes if you set a scene from a certain standpoint, emotionally, I always set the emotions of my scenes right away because that tells you something about the character. If you have a really cynical character, maybe start out the scene with Bob never liked whatever, but then you go into detail about it. See, the thing is, you can use exposition as well. Exposition is just a tool to help you show a bit about your character's personality or their aspect of your character. Also a way to show plot bases, but you can't use it all the time, and that's where people fall short. They think I have to have solid paragraphs of exposition and whole chapters of exposition. It's like, no, you don't. You don't. You just have to have 1 or 2 sentences sometimes. And then you go into the narration and the thoughts and the dialogue. It's all woven together. You can't just say, well, I tried showing this aspect of the character through dialogue. Well, did you do thoughts? Did you do narration? Well, maybe during the dialogue you can describe how the other character's acting from your character's perspective. And those little details add up to a big picture. So don't try to describe every aspect of that character in the first place. You can describe it throughout a conversation. You can describe it throughout the chapter, throughout the book. Aspects of characters really should be described in little bits and pieces. Because that's what keeps the reader coming back, is because you're getting little hints about the character and you want to learn more about the character. You want to see them pass their struggles and succeed. So, instead of focusing on trying to fit everything in this one little space, spread it out. That'll make it so much more rich and engaging if you have all these different tools you're using and little bits and pieces here and there. And that's the key to knowing different aspects of a character without just stating it in exposition or dialogue. Let's see what other questions we have. Constructive feedback and criticisms. What's the difference? That's what Striving Scholar was asking about as an idea. Okay, a bit too general. So, presented as somewhat important to know. Okay. So, constructive criticism, constructive feedback, and criticism in terms of characters. Criticism doesn't have to be negative. And I think that's a problem with a lot of people. They hear the word criticism and they shut down. They're like, oh my gosh, they're criticizing my work, they don't like it, oh my gosh, I failed in life, I'm just gonna crawl in a hole and cry. And no, criticism doesn't have to be negative. It can be negative, but it should have good elements of both. And constructive feedback is pretty much the same. Criticism, I think, is more of, this is what's wrong. Constructive feedback maybe would be how to fix it, but I kind of squished them together. So for me, any constructive feedback can be good criticism as well. It's pretty much what I think you need to remember is if you're looking at someone's OC or helping them with their characterization, the main thing you need to understand is that you need to put yourself in their shoes. You need to be empathetic because people put a lot of time and effort into their characters, and to say that, to go off on them and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, that's very demeaning. We should encourage each other. And we should lift each other up whenever possible, you know? Because writing is one of those things where it really is a self-expression. It's a form of art. So characters are like paintings, you know, in a way. That shows all this effort you've put into them. And, you know, I think that needs to be appreciated. A lot of times people get very negative with characters. They're like, oh, you don't appreciate this, and they get very defensive. You're constantly negative. So instead, I've always heard someone say, I heard someone say once, you make criticism like an Oreo. You have good, bad, and good. Well, I don't really like that analogy very well. It does give you a point. You should have more positives than negatives if you can, but I mean, don't sugarcoat it. It's one of those really soft areas that it depends on the person, honestly. Some people prefer to have really honest criticism, and other people are really sensitive. When in doubt, be more sensitive. Just say, I really liked this and this. Maybe you could improve this, but still, it's a good start, you know? Talk about that. As you need to remember that words can really weigh a son, and when you're not face to face and talking, they can't tell your tone from your text. So when you're writing text, you need to understand that, hey, they might not understand the way you meant it. They might take offense at it. So it's okay sometimes to get into polite arguments, but I think it's important just to treat each other with respect and know your boundaries. And when in doubt, stay more on the subtle side, you know, the subdued. And then if they're receptive to it and you want to help them out more, say maybe, hey, sometimes you want me to go over them in more detail and we can work together on it. You know, that sort of thing. I don't honestly, I'm not very much of a critic. Most people ask for my honest opinion, I give it to them. As I said, you just want to be respectful of each other. And I think I got those, so I think that's it for everyone. Thanks for joining me on my first ever podcast. I apologize, this was really awkward. I'm still learning to talk properly. So, if you have any OCs you want me to look over, or maybe a short story or two, just give me something to talk about, guys. I don't care. A topic, some OCs, some short stories, whatever. Say, hey, Bluegrass, can you look over X? Okay, I'll look it over and I'll tell you my honest opinion about it. So, thanks for listening. I really appreciate all the support, guys. I apologize if my audio quality or my voice is driving you crazy. I do apologize. Hopefully I'll get some stories written out soon. I'm sitting in my G-Docs looking at me like little lost pound puppies. I should probably actually start on this. Oh, I already started on them, but anyhow, thank you again. Have a good one. Enjoy your time. Hopefully everyone's staying warm that's in the cooler areas around now. I'm quite glad for El Nino year. Yeah. So, talk to you later, guys. Bye.